Have you ever considered how the act of finding your voice can lead to profound transformation? Let's delve into the concept of homeostatic triads, a framework that allows us to dissect the nuanced layers of interconnected states. Picture a triad of mutual interdependence where empowerment, self-assertion, and transformation are not merely sequential events, but deeply interconnected states. Imagine the journey of Katy Perry, as illustrated in her hit song Roar. Perry's transformation is akin to a butterfly emerging from its chrysalis, a compelling narrative of self-discovery and empowerment. The butterfly cannot exist without its prior states of being, just as Perry's transformation is contingent upon her empowerment and assertion. In this triad, embracing one's inner strength or empowerment is inherently tied to the act of voicing one's truth or self-assertion. The act of self-assertion, in turn, catalyzes a profound metamorphosis or transformation. This powerful interplay is what drives the narrative in Perry's Roar, a song that has resonated with millions of people around the world. However, this triad also has its negative conditions. The absence of empowerment leads to a silence that is not just a lack of sound, but a void of self-expression. This silence begets stagnation, a state where potential transformations are left unrealized, much like seeds that remain dormant without the necessary conditions to sprout. The absence of nurturing elements stifles growth, painting a picture of a garden untended. The journey from discovering one's voice to asserting one's identity, culminating in a state of empowerment, follows a natural progression. Perry's narrative reiterates this process, but on a metaphorical level, showcasing the stages of personal growth and the flourishing of one's essence. Through Katy Perry's Roar, we explore the intricate dance between empowerment and its negation, learning that silence and stagnation are not merely the absence of sound and movement, but fertile grounds for growth. Just like a butterfly emerging from its chrysalis, Perry's transformation is contingent upon her empowerment and assertion. But what happens when the power to assert oneself is absent? Let's dive into the negative conditions of the homeostatic triads framework, exploring the states of disempowerment, silence, and stagnation. Imagine the absence of empowerment, a state where one feels powerless. This lack of power can lead to a unique form of silence, not merely a lack of sound, but a void of self-expression. It's a silence that echoes with the unspoken words and untold stories, resonating with the whispers of potential that remain unheard. This silence is not peaceful, rather it's a deafening absence, a void that yearns to be filled with the resonance of self-expression. This silence, born from disempowerment, begets stagnation. Picture a garden untended, where seeds of potential lay dormant, untouched by the nurturing elements necessary for growth. Just as a seed needs water, sunlight, and a fertile soil to sprout, our inner potential requires empowerment, self-expression, and the opportunity for transformation to flourish. Without these, we become like the dormant seeds, our potential unrealized, our growth stifled. Stagnation, in this context, is not merely a state of inactivity, it's a state where potential transformations are left unrealized, much like seeds that remain dormant without the necessary conditions to sprout. It's a state where growth is stifled, where the bloom of self-assertion is left unopened, frozen in the bud stage. Stagnation, silence, and disempowerment are deeply interconnected, much like the positive conditions of empowerment, self-assertion, and transformation. The absence of one affects the others, creating a chain reaction that can leave us stuck in a state of dormancy, our voices silenced, our growth stunted. But remember, even in this state of stagnation, the potential for growth remains, waiting for the right conditions to awaken it. This is the dance of the homeostatic triads, a delicate interplay of states, conditions, and transformations. It's a dance that tells a story, a narrative of self-discovery, self-expression, and growth. The absence of nurturing elements in this garden of self-expression stifles the potential for growth, just like dormant seeds. In the grand symphony of life, how does one move from silence to a roar? Let's delve into the sequential progression from discovering one's voice to asserting one's identity within the homeostatic triads framework. Picture, if you will, a child learning to speak. This process is not an overnight event. It's a journey, a series of stages, each building on the one before. The first step is finding the voice, the raw, unshaped vocalizations that are the foundation of communication. This is akin to discovering one's inner strength, the foundation upon which empowerment is built. But what comes next? Does the voice remain a jumble of sounds, or does it evolve? With guidance and practice, the child's voice transforms into words, sentences, and eventually into coherent expression. Similarly, when we discover our inner strength, it doesn't remain as raw potential. It evolves into an assertion of our identity. We learn to use our strength to voice our truth, to stand up for ourselves, to be who we are without fear or hesitation. And then comes the final stage. The child doesn't just learn to speak, they learn to interact, to engage with the world around them. This is the culmination of their journey, the point where they transition from passive observer to active participant. In the context of our journey, this is the point of empowerment. It's where we use our voice, our self-assertion, to effect change in our lives and in the world around us. We are no longer silent observers, we are roaring participants, shaping our destiny with our words and actions. This sequential progression is not a rigid path. There are detours, roadblocks, and setbacks, but each stage builds on the one before, and each step forward, no matter how small, is a victory. This is the journey from silence to roar, from dormancy to empowerment. It's a journey that each of us embarks on in our own unique way at our own pace. And so, through Katy Perry's narrative, we see this journey mirrored. We see the stages of personal growth, much like a child learning to speak and interact with the world. Perry's narrative showcases the stages of personal growth, much like a child learning to speak and interact with the world. But what is the key to this transformation? This question takes us to the heart of the homeostatic triads framework, where the conditional transformation unfolds. Here, finding one's voice is a prerequisite for self-assertion and ultimately transformation. Picture this. The act of speaking one's truth is the key. Self-assertion? That's the turning of the key. And transformation? That's the opening of the door to a new realm of possibilities. But without the key, the door remains stubbornly closed, and the journey cannot commence. Consider the opposite scenario, where self-assertion is absent. It's a state of voicelessness, much like a bird that does not sing because it has never learned to open its beak. The potential for flight, the transformation, remains grounded in the absence of song, of assertion. Without assertion, the potential for flight remains grounded. The bird must first learn to vocalize, to assert its presence before it can soar.